Hey friends, welcome back to University of Dice. You might recognize the deck above my head here. This is the Thanos deck that I did the deck tech on recently. I made one little change to it and I wanted to talk about it, but I wanted to do it in context of the topic this video is about, which is why I love Toolbox decks. So, what am I talking about? What change did I make? Let's have a look. You might recall we were not so sure about Wong, and I did in fact drop Wong, and I put on Lois Lane. One, she gives me those fists. I can only fit two of her, but she gives me those fists, and I like this super rare. That field for free is really nice and can be a great cost savings for you on energy. A lot of these characters that we have included on this team that we're likely to purchase in most games do have a fielding cost. And boy, isn't it nice to perhaps use the Lois Lane ability to field the Proxima Midnight for free and then take advantage of her ability? That sounds pretty good to me. Or to use Joker in his removal potential for free. That also sounds pretty good to me. So I think Lois Lane is a good one. I can see purchasing her in a lot of games. But there's a lot of cards on this deck that I might not purchase in every game. And that's important, and that's good, and that's key to Dice Masters. I like teams that can pivot. I like teams that can do something a little bit different. And more importantly, it's something you need to be able to do to understand your game plan and the tools that you've brought with you well enough to know what to do when you get a given role with the stuff that you have available. Let me give you a very easy example. Thanos and Proxima Midnight here especially, Ebony Maw to a lesser extent, are here to make Thanos easier to buy. Proxima can also make other things easier to buy. Now, what if my opponent brings the Dark Phoenix Global? Well, I don't necessarily need to buy Proxima Midnight at that point. Now, I will warrant that I might be able to still make Thanos cheaper a little faster depending on the energy that I get if I still buy Proxima, but I don't necessarily need to. So, if I'm not buying Proxima Midnight, what do I buy? Well, Lois is a pretty good option. So is Drax. But Drax also requires a shield. What if I don't get a shield? Lois, again, is a pretty good option. So having that ability to pivot depending on my roles and get some of those lesser expensive characters, right? 2-3 cost is a good thing to buy on your first turn. Usually you want to try and do 2-3 and then ramp or churn somehow, or maybe even both. But regardless, that's something that can help us greatly. Further, we do have some shields here, and, well, she has that damage prevention global. Now, you might say, does that hurt us? Does that stop some of the things like what Joker can do with his deal 1 damage, or what Ebony Maw can do with the damage that Ebony can deal? Well, maybe, but I kind of like forcing my opponent to think about, what do I need to save energy for? If they're saving energy to spend on that global, you know what they're not doing? They're not buying stuff for themselves. They're not paying globals themselves. Well, they're paying for that one, but that's about it. And moreover, if we have Pip the Troll online, now they got to save 2. I like stuff, and I talked about this in the difference between Pip and Lilandra. I like stuff that makes decisions harder for your opponent than they are for me. I think that's really important and a really cool facet of this game. Because that's where I get to why I like toolboxes. Dice Masters is the only game in the collectible space where if I don't want to draw something, I don't have to. Because I don't have to buy it. If I don't think I need Angela in a game, I don't buy her. Short of sideboarding in some other card game, I can't not draw a card that I put in my deck. I can't not draw a card that's in my Keyforge deck. I can't do it. I can't not draw something that's in my Corporate Runner deck in Netrunner, as much as I love that game. But in this game, I have that power. That's a really important power to consider. And I think not being cognizant of that is where some lesser experienced players, those newer players, and this is something I'm working through with my friend who I'm teaching the game right now, that's where they get in the habit of overbuying, and then all of a sudden they're log jammed, and they don't understand what's going on or how to get themselves out of it. Usually it's a problem of too many dice, and that seems like a strange thing, right? More feels like better. But it's definitely not in this game, not in that case anyway. There are going to be games where I don't care about Angela. There are going to be games where I don't need to buy Joker. There are going to be games when I don't need Pip. Drax I'll probably need. But I'm going to look and I'm going to buy them when I need to. So it's worth having some Toolbox cards in your deck. I can think of teams where there were characters I never purchased. A whole tournament. There was a card there. I brought The Oppression Begins to Detroit WizKids Open because there was a concern based on imprisoned rulings with Ultraman and his Kryptonite that could use the action abilities. There was the concern that that would be a deck. Now, never ended up seeing him. He didn't show up. He wasn't there. But if he was, Oppression Begins was a way that I could take care of it because they would have to trigger that and knock out some of their own stuff. It could be a problem. So I never used it, never bought it, never needed it. It was just there. Was that a dead spot? I mean, in hindsight, sure. But looking ahead and knowing that that was a weakness of my team, I don't think that was a dead slot at all. Because how could I know? Right? We don't want to judge things based on the results. We've talked a lot way long ago about results-oriented thinking. We don't want to judge things based on the results. In any case, Dice Masters gives you the power to only get what you need when you want it. Or to only get what you want when you need it. Whichever way you want to talk about that there. So having a deck that can pivot, that can flex, that can do different things depending on the stuff that's available to you is really, really important. And when I do look at this, I am a little nervous. I see 4 key characters that are shields. That could be tough. What if I whiff on some shields? It's happened. Though we certainly hope, after we buy the first couple, that won't happen so much. Nonetheless, it's something to think about. Thank you so much for watching. Hope that's some worthwhile food for thought for your Dice Masters playing. I will add on as a small addendum, a PS, a postscript, an epilogue, something like that. I will add on that overbuying thing happens a lot in draft, and even in draft it can happen with experienced folks. So do be careful. Use the tools when you need them. Remember, you can't defend against everything, so don't try. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye.